Hello and welcome to another episode of the Small Town Tourist Podcast, where we experience and explore everything that makes small towns great. I'm your host, Abby, and today I am so excited to introduce you to one of my new best friends. We were just instantly hitting it off. It's Naomi from Wild Ginger Apothecary, and this episode was just so much fun to make. When I initially told her how the podcast works, about a half an hour conversation, that sort of thing, we doubled that. We recorded for an hour and 12 minutes. So we're splitting this episode into two parts. So today you get part one of the podcast, where we get into what an apothecary is and kind of how she got started on her journey making these incredible products. One of which is actually right in front of me. She brought so many awesome goodies with. That's why there's a video version of this podcast as well. But she made me this super cool cup, which has my logo on it, Abby Graves Productions. And the back says, Empowered Women Empower Women, which I absolutely love. This woman is a jack of all trades, and I am so excited for you to get to know her and follow her journey. So please enjoy our time hanging out with Naomi of Wild Ginger Apothecary. A reminder, this is part one, and part two will be out next week. So basically, how we're going to start is I will have you give your name, where you're from, and what you do.
Sounds good.
So whenever you're ready.
Okay. My name is Naomi Hommerding. I actually live in St. Augusta, Minnesota, and I'm an IT specialist for the government, actually, for my full-time job, but this is my little side project, passion project that's been in development for the past year, and just kind of starting to get it launched and helping women everywhere.
Just a couple of government girlies with side hustles.
Right?
Because for everyone who doesn't know, my full-time job is with the government as well.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Well, I am so excited to have you here today. We were put in contact by our friend Liz, who was my doctor who saved my back. And
cool.
Now I help make her podcasts and stuff. And how do you know Liz? How did you guys get in contact?
Again, I just randomly make friends everywhere. And so I just, I followed her stuff, and I just thought it was so cool what she was doing. And I actually just reached out to her when she was putting some reels on with that U-pick. And I have just little ideas, I'm the good idea fairy. And so I just saw with her rose, I'm like, oh, that would be really cool to have some sublimated signs on the end of each one of them. And so I reached out, I'm like, hey, do you want some help doing that? Because that would be fun. And also, too, with the gift card thing, that first year she was doing the subscription type for gift cards. So I said, hey, do you want me to design some? I'm kind of an aggressive hobbyist, I call it. And so I said, I'm happy to help. And so I did that too. And so we just kind of connected on that way. And again, it's just internet friends, just randomly. Yeah,
you just meet the coolest people.
We do.
Okay, so you mentioned your sublimation and your cereal hobbyist. Let's get into these amazing cups that you made. I'm going to do a zoom up here on my IG reel, but that has my logo on it. This woman walks into my house and presents me with this. I have a new best friend.
Right?
This is incredible. I am so stoked. And then the back has Empowered Women Empower Women, which I love.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
So what are we going to be making in these? You brought ingredients.
Yeah, I did. So I thought we'd make some mocktails. And so, I don't drink as much as I used to, just because I get that anxiety thing after. And so, mid-30s, so yeah, that happens.
Late 20s and it's happening.
Yeah. So, and then I don't like feeling like crap in the morning either. And so I used my stress support tincture and kind of was playing around with some different things. And so, yeah, just like a mini mocktail.
Sweet.
So we'll just need some ice if you want.
Okay, I will fill these up with ice.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the first question is, do you want black cherry or this one's ginger lemongrass?
Ooh, ginger lemongrass.
Okay, good, because I don't like ginger. That's why I had to bring two of these, because I'm like, I don't like that.
This is my preferred flavor of things.
So what I do, and there's no right or wrong, that's the best thing. So this one does have some herbs in it as well. It's got some green tea, chamomile, and lemon balm. I just got that off Amazon. And then so I mix that with some sparkling mineral water.
Okay.
To try to get some of that in. And then the real magic happens if you go in that little box that I brought.
Yeah, you should see the goodies that this woman brought me. It feels like Christmas. Actually, this is better than Christmas this year.
Homemade goodies.
Okay, what am I digging out of here?
Okay, so we want to do the stress support, and I'll leave it up to you. Normally when I make them when I'm at home, I do the stress support and the libido enhancer.
Okay.
This gets just a little blood flow going, and just have a little fun. But the stress support is just I call it my first beer feeling. The herbs in there are very mellow. They don't have any interactions, known interactions at least, with pharmaceuticals, things like that. And so it's just kind of like oat straw, linden, vanilla, stevia. There's just some good combination, and it just kind of gives you that
Just like
feeling.
knocks the edge off of a hard day.
And it doesn't make you drowsy or anything. It's just like, I call it my anti-bitch formula. Because it just helps.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, how many drops am I putting in here?
I mean, that's the beauty of being a woman. Like, when you really listen to your body knows. Like, so I call it measuring by the heart. So I just, whatever. You can do up to a few drops to a few dropperfuls. It really doesn't matter.
Okay, so maybe start with like half a milliliter.
Sure. Yeah, whatever works for you.
I just squeezed it out to 0.75. We'll do that. Just a little squirt of that in there.
I'll maybe shoot some in mine.
Yep. How much do you want?
Doesn't matter. And so with tinctures, kind of like the foundation of tinctures is it's an herbal extract in a liquid. And so this is uses an alcohol as a base. And because you use such little, it's like the same as like a ripe banana.
Okay.
And so it's not like you're getting it, getting intoxicated from it by any means. But the best method is to put it directly under your tongue.
Okay, I did that with CBD for a while.
Yep, exactly. It's the same concept. So you have receptors under your tongue that go right into the bloodstream. And so basically this, as it sits in the alcohol with the herbs, it pulls out all the good stuff of the herbs.
Okay.
And so then you strain it out, and what you're left with is this liquid that has like the medicinal properties of the herbs. And so and it's pretty powerful, pretty potent, and you can just throw it right under your tongue. It burns a little bit because I'm kind of a wuss. So I just put a little bit of water in my mouth or a drink and then shoot it under my tongue, and I just kind of hold it for a while.
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate for like 10 seconds, and then you just swallow it down.
Okay.
Or you can just throw it in a beverage and just drink it too. So really it doesn't matter.
I love a fancy beverage.
I know, a mocktail.
So same thing, mix the libido in with it too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You can throw some of mine too.
Hell yeah,
My
let's do
husband
it.
might be happy later.
And it is Monday when we're recording this,
Right? Yep. Hey, they're non-alcoholic.
No judgment from me, that's for sure.
Right? I mean, I like the beer as much as the next girl, but sometimes it's just nice not to have the icky feeling the next day.
New year, new us. I gotta try some of this.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that. And this one is like,
I love it.
It's a magnesium base. Well, it's got L-theanine and lemon balm, but it's also got magnesium L-threonate. So this is kind of nice too.
And you said you got these on Amazon?
Yeah.
These are like not your average like Diet Coke you find at a gas station.
Exactly. And it's made with like good stuff. So basically in the past couple of years, I've really just been trying to like weed out the icky stuff. And you can't weed out everything. And it's all about, balance and choosing things. But this stuff is kind of nice because it gives you like, it's not so much the alcohol that I liked at night. I think it was just that ritual of making something.
It's huge, yeah.
Sitting down, having that drink, and just having that feeling. So I like that. But
there's even a lid.
I know. And they're insulated.
Cheers, my friend. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Damn, that is refreshing.
Right? And then in about 10 minutes, you'll just be like,
ooh, chill.
Chill. Like, it just feels good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that tastes incredible.
I love it.
Anything like lemony, citrusy, that is my jam.
Yep. Ginger and I have a love-hate relationship. It depends what it's in, but...
Even though your name is Wild Ginger.
So it's kind of a play on words because I'm, ginger, redhead or whatever, and I'm a little bit wild, a little bit crazy. And it's just, I love... Ginger's got great medicinal properties as well, so...
It really does.
I was trying to find a name for my company, and that one just kept sticking out.
It fits. It really does.
And then I did the whole redhead.
Yeah. I noticed that right away when I first saw your logo. I'm like, that's some flaming red hair, and I love it. Because I went through a phase in like 10th grade where, one, I was obsessed with The Little Mermaid. I still am. I'm a Disney adult. When you walked in here, the pineapple smell is Dole Whip from Disney World.
Oh, too funny.
Yeah. So I dyed my hair like red. Like my hair was your color red.
Really?
But it was from a box.
Oh, funny.
And it was like that for like over a year.
Nice.
So.
Gotta love the red.
You respect the red, man.
I don't like spicy foods, but my personality's spicy. That's kind of what I say. Like, I don't know. Because everyone's like, ooh, redhead. Oh, you're so spicy. You like spicy foods. And I'm like, no.
I do live in Minnesota. Ketchup gets a little...
Pepperonis make me sweat. So I'm like, it's just my personality is spicy. That's it.
So let's get into Wild Ginger. How did you get into running an apothecary? And let's get into what an apothecary is, because I feel like that's a word that kind of popped up when Schitt's Creek started.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because everyone just thinks Rose is apothecary, and then they picture David going, it's a write-off. So what is an apothecary?
Basically, it's, taking nature, what nature gives us, and using that in methods that make us feel better, whether it's curing something, you can, making yourself feel good, helping your body heal itself. And so the apothecary piece, the herbal apothecary, is I really dug into herbs to try to figure out how to make myself feel better. So that's kind of the apothecary piece.
Interesting. And then, so once you started digging in, it just became a natural progression of one turned into many?
So it actually all started, there was two things happening about simultaneously that kind of drove me to doing this. And the first was my girls, who are 17 and 12 now.
You don't look old enough to have children that old. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm almost 40. Oh, that's painful to say. So my oldest we had when we were 20. Just turned 21 after I had her. And so she was coming of age, and we've always been open. Like, I kind of grew up with the whole, you don't really talk much about it kind of scenario, which I think most of us women did. And so I just really wanted to make a point to really be open and honest and kind of like let that be a topic of conversation. And I think we did pretty good. There's a book actually out there by the American Girls. It's like The Care and Keeping of You.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
I feel like every girl had that.
Yes. And so I bought that for her, and she was like, read it and would ask questions that kind of prompt the discussion. And so, and my husband is great with it too. Like, we'd celebrate when they got their periods, we go out for dinner, or, like whatever. Just,
making it something that's not like taboo and like, oh, I need to hide this.
Exactly. And just talk about it freely in our house. And so that was kind of the goal. And so then as they were getting older, I'm like, there's just not a lot out there in a format that's easy for them. So you have your school stuff, which really focuses on like, pregnancy prevention.
You think of like the Mean Girls, like don't have sex or you will die.
Exactly. Not so much like how this can work for you or how your body works for you. And so I wanted to create something educationally that would kind of not be so aggressive, because when you go and search the internet, like you get a whole spiel of things. Some of them are very aggressively like, yep, that's that. And then some are just too babyish, like it's almost too cartoony. And so I just really wanted something that would give them the information at like a level that they would understand. And like, here's an example. It's pretty, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of cute. And so this just goes over the anatomy.
It's pretty, but it's accurate. Point, like
exactly.
That's a point to
and
make.
So like, this is not aggressive, and this kind of goes over the anatomy of the external parts. And I mean, there's still probably girls out there, older girls that don't know there's 3 different holes down there, that kind of thing. And so it's on boys too. Like it's very good for education on both sides of the coin. And like a lot of the stuff I learned in my 30s after having 3 kids. I'm like, okay.
Why did no one tell this to me when I was 15?
And as I'm like learning and kind of talking to my older daughter, she's like, we never learned that in school. We never learned that in school. And I'm like, wow, there's really an opportunity for knowledge here. And like just the different hormones that, there's pituitary ones, there's, ones that come from your ovaries and what your uterus does throughout the cycle. So that's kind of like that piece of it. And then furthermore, the different phases. And I was actually kind of angry the more I learned about it, the more angry I became. Like,
I'm in that phase right now because I'm on TikTok and they're like, you should eat with your phase of the month. And I'm like, eat with it? What do you mean? Does that justify more snacks? And sometimes it does.
It does. Like your luteal phase is great for eating a little bit more. Like your body just needs more. And like also like carrots. Eat carrots in your luteal phase because they help get that excess estrogen out of your body. And the excess estrogen usually is what causes those heavy periods, cramping, things like that. And so again, the more I dug in, the more angry I became. So I went through like this whole like, I'm at the stages of grief, I guess, like, I'm like, why didn't we learn this? And so I created the different phases and the anatomy, like your hormones, your ovaries, your uterus, and your cervix, like what each thing is happening during it. And then I took it a step further and like, how do you use this for your life, like your mood and productivity, your activity and exercise, your food and nourishment, and what to avoid. Like your gallbladder moves a little slower during a specific phase, so you shouldn't eat a lot of fats. Like things that would be so great to know as a teenager. Like this would be amazing to learn in health class is how to eat for your cycle. And so I wanted to make it in a way, like I said, you can go into probably a novel for each of these subjects, but how do you get that in a way that's going to be easily digestible by the masses? And so this is kind of what I went with. And so as I was learning all of that, I was really digging into ancestral women's knowledge and how women have played a role throughout life, essentially. And we're the healers. Like we heal ourselves, but we heal people. Like we are the healers of the tribe, essentially. Yeah. And I think the last, 50, 100 years, we've really disconnected from that intuitive piece of it.
It's like once modern medicine kicked in,
yeah.
Which no knock on modern medicine.
Exactly. If I cut my arm off, I am going to get it fixed.
It's very helpful, yep. But it did hinder that kind of thing where
Correct.
Women were the ones that went to
yep.
to be fixed.
Exactly. And we live in a man society, which, right, wrong, or indifferent, it just is the way it is. And so how do we work around that? Because like a man wakes up with high testosterone and throughout the day, low testosterone, goes to bed, does the same thing over, where we can have a whole week of high energy and then a whole week of low energy. And so we are forced to fit into a mold that maybe isn't the best for our body. And so as I'm digging, and I'm going Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, like all these cultural things, and how herbs played in a role and just how much they can really help. And so that was really cool to kind of dig into that. And the more you dig into, the more you realize you don't know. So then there's more to know. And so it's a never ending knowledge. So I will never say I'm the expert in anything, but I've learned a heck of a ton of things.
Where were you digging? That's like
everywhere.
Like, are there people online that are offering like classes on this kind of thing?
I'm really good at researching, and I absorb a high amount of information really fast. So I'm just like, I don't know, I'm like a squirrel, right?
Love it.
And
love
so
it.
I was reading everything from like history books to medical research papers to cultural, it's wild. Literally, it's the World Wide Web. Like, you can find things everywhere. And you got to be careful with social media piece of it because there's a lot of misinformation out there. But you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes it's interesting once the algorithm hits and you start hearing all these things, then you can take that information and research it to kind of fact check and just, again, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So you hear a phrase or a term and you go look it up and it's mind-blowing. And so through all of that, I just kind of started grabbing pieces of information. And so I can see all these puzzle pieces as I'm learning information and I'm like, they fit together somehow. Let me figure out how this works. And so that's one part of the story. And so, what was it? It was right before the pandemic. I was fit. I was CrossFit, running. I did half marathons, and I got stubby little legs, so it's like a lot of work for me. I'm not an easy runner, but I really enjoyed exercising, and I learned a ton with nutrition. I was eating to my macros. It was amazing, and I was like the fittest, most energy I've ever been. And then as the pandemic came, and people were exposed to certain things, and I started getting so inflamed. And I've been on birth control basically since I've been 16, with the exception of my 3 kids. And so I had no idea what my body was doing, first of all. But then as I was progressing, I gained 30 to 50 pounds in 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
I was miserable. And it's hard to tell.
It makes you feel like crap.
Exactly. And it was is it just from me not moving around as much, but I'm still going, from running 15 miles a week, what's going on? And so I'm doing all the things, right? I'm text box, I'm eating perfectly. I'm exercising well. I'm not drinking that, boom, boom, boom. And I just could not feel good. And then chronic fatigue, things like that. And so, again, I'm a little type A, a little over-organized, a little researchy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And so I kind of over-analyze and make sure I have my ducks in a row. And so I went to my clinic with my doctor, and I'm like, something's going on. I don't feel good. Can we test my hormones? Because I had heard a few, echoes of hormones this, hormones that. And she basically laughed at me and said, well, it's not going to tell you much anyway. It changes every day. Basically wrote me off. And I was like, oh, bummer. Okay. And so fast forward again, I'm still feeling miserable. So I switched clinics to a different clinic that a lot of people had really good luck with that wasn't as mainstream. And I don't know, and a lot of people have really good luck there, but I don't know if the one provider that I picked, I drew the short straw when I went in, but everything happens for a reason. So I had the printout because I had one of those scales that have all the different, whatever, your muscle mass, your everything on it. And I had been tracking, again, I had like my FitnessPal Pro. So I had like 2 months worth of everything I've eaten. You
came with data.
Yeah, I had the receipts. Like, and I had done my research as to which labs I wanted, because we had a history of thyroid issues in our family.
That's
all this
the thing.
stuff.
You need to be your own advocate in that situation, because they won't test you for things.
Yes.
Like, I just went to the doctor for my physical last month, and my mom has thyroid issues. And I'm like, you know what? I want to make sure that I have like a base level look at mine just in case things go south. And they wouldn't have done anything about that unless I would have said something.
Yep. I did get... At the previous one, I did get a few labs with it, but I didn't get the full thyroid panel, because there's like 3 or 4 or 5 different labs you should be looking at. And then no one looks at your liver. Like, again, I'll get to that in a little bit, but your liver's important. Like, it's really, really, really important for like everything.
Yeah, I guess unless you're probably like heavy drinking, no one's going to look at your liver.
Nope. And we are inundated with toxins. What we eat, the environment we're in, like these clothes we're wearing. I mean, unless you have organic, non-toxic everything, which we can, like there's just no getting away from it. But it's working really hard at what it does in detoxing us. But it's got a lot of work to do. Like, we're really stressing it out. And so I'm at this other doctor with all my paperwork. And we're going through, and like, I'm all excited, right? Like, I'm super excited because I did my research. I know I'm going to get helped, right? Oh man, did that balloon get deflated fast. She just looked at me, and she was almost arguing the whole time. And I was very, I went in very like, please help me, like, what do you think?
I'm doing my best to help you so you can help me.
Exactly. And so she said, well, maybe you should try the Mediterranean diet. I'm like, oh, what's all inclusive of that? She started listing it off. I'm like, I'm kind of doing that already. Like, here's my macros, here's my nutrients. Like, I'm eating ingredients, not processed food. And she's like, oh, well, then you need to work out more. Okay, well, if we look at my workout paperwork, I am training 1 hour every day, except for Sundays, and I had 3 days of like heavy lifting. I had 3 days of cardio stuff, and then I was working out.
You were on a rigid schedule,
correct.
And it was a good one that was mixing what you need to be mixing.
And I was, in between like 1,500 and 1,900 calories, which I was under eating. I know I was, but it was so frustrating because I kept gaining weight. And so anyway, she's like, well, then you need to work out more. And I mean, the research I had done, I knew my hormones would get completely obliterated so I repeated back to her. I said, so what I'm hearing you say is you would like me to eat less from what I am now and work out more. And then she kind of looked at me and was like, well, I mean, yeah. I'm like, I can't. I need the nutrients. I need, I said, I'm probably working out too much right now, to be completely honest with you. And then I brought up the thyroid thing, and I'm like, I want an ultrasound on my thyroid because I just want a baseline. Like you said, I just want to know because I've done the labs now, but I would like to check them again. I want to check my testosterone and my cortisol. I want to check, I had a list. She argued with me for a solid 5 minutes about why my insurance wouldn't pay for it and didn't want to do it. And I was so defeated. I was so sad because I was just really like pumped that this was going to be the
you're
answer.
trying something new,
like,
and you're hoping
I've been
for the
miserable
best.
for now. It's been 2 years. Like, ugh. So I ended up getting the lab work that I wanted because I told her I was willing to pay out of pocket. P.S. My insurance covered it. I got the ultrasound, but she wasn't happy to do it. And I did have a small nodule. It's benign. It's fine. But it's just nice to know.
Yeah, it's good to know those baseline
to compare,
things. Yeah.
Right? And so I got what I needed from her, but I didn't get what I wanted from her. And so as I sat outside the clinic, I cried in my minivan for like 15 minutes. I just let myself because that was disappointing. That was so sad. And I literally just sat in my minivan and I cried. And I'm like, I need to do something. And so once I kind of get pissed, because I was pissed, then I'm just like, watch out. Like, you thought I was on the way before, like, ooh.
We're doubling down on this paperwork.
Pretty much. And so I had called Renew Health and Wellness, and so they do more of a holistic approach with the electrodermal screening. And my massage lady mentioned it, but I mean, at this point, I'm like, because I had a pharmaceutical background, I was a pharmacy technician for years, like, been in the medical field. I'm pro pharmacy at this point, pro Western medicine, until I was failed by it. And so so then my mind was open to trying something else. And so I'm sitting crying in my minivan, looking up on my phone, and I made an appointment with Renew. And then at the same time, because again, I'm a skeptic, I like science. And so I also made an appointment at Rejuve. And P.S., if anyone's looking for an amazing doctor or nurse, she's a nurse practitioner, but Paige Dieters, she's at Williams and Tiger Care now. Like, she listens, she has conversations with you. She's phenomenal. So if anyone is looking, just don't everyone go to her, because I still want to be able to get into her, but she's amazing. And that's kind of where the journey of this really all started, because I figured I had to do it myself, right? If you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. And so, because again, I was a skeptic, because all this is woo-woo, right? And so I'm doing lab work to verify exactly what, like, I'm simultaneously playing both sides of the coin here. And like, and poor Paige too. I went in there with the receipts, and by this time I'm like scarred, right? Like,
right.
So I sound
you got like, your wall up.
I sound like a crazy person because I'm just. Oh my! I thought, you know, my blood pressure was up. Like again, she's probably like high anxiety, check, you know, like all this stuff. But I'm like, just and she's just calm, and she just listened to me, and she had discussions with me, and like, so through those two and through herbals and stuff, I was able to get myself to a point where I felt good again. And that was the biggest like win for me, is because I figured it out myself. So if I had not had those terrible experiences at my other two, I would have not been crying in my minivan, and I would have not made those appointments, and I would probably still be the victim. Poor me, poor me. And so instead I took a proactive approach. I really got in there and took it again. And I probably took it too far, but you know, that's just me. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. That's my husband's motto. So I guess it's instilled in me now. And so that, as I started learning about the natural herbs and what women have been doing for centuries to help themselves, I'm like, oh my gosh. And again, those puzzle pieces just started falling into place. And the liver, I found out, is very important.
Yeah, tell me more about my liver.
So
my dad always jokes that he has a monkey in the garage that's like growing him a liver in case he needs it.
Oh, perfect. Well, and the liver is one of the few organs that can regenerate and heal itself, like, which is so cool.
Wild.
Yes, it's just super cool. And so basically with my hormone balancing kits, the foundation of it, a lot of it comes from like Rosemary Gladstar. And I did a lot of research with her, and she's been doing women's herbal health for, decades. And she's awesome. And then with that, I took all the knowledge I learned from everywhere else, and I'm like, how do I help the most women? Because there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but it's overwhelming. Like, it's really hard to navigate. Like, I walked in to, I think Fresh Time has a whole wall full of herbals, which is great, but
if you don't know what you're looking for,
and you can be the victim of marketing so easily. Yeah, like that's all of us. If there's something shiny, watch out. I
bought a drink this past weekend because there was edible glitter in it. Like, I saw that. I am public enemy number one.
Correct. I'm a marketer's dream because it's shiny and it's bling. Like, what I'm
count me in.
Moth to flame, like, count me in. And so really from that, I'm like, how do I get this in a consumer? So it's not just the herbs, it's the education, it's the protocol essentially. And not everyone's going to try out the woo-woo. Not everyone's gonna go to functional medicine, not because it's out of pocket for most of it. Like, unfortunately, and I was in a place financially that I could do it. Plus, I had so much desperation behind it, driving it, that I was willing to. And so from that, that's how this really got developed. And so basically, my formulas all have, and I call it kind of the root cause. And so, like, your liver is where you, like, you know, create and metabolize and distribute and process and filter out. Like, if your liver is not a strong foundation, if it's overloaded, just, think about it. If you're not in a good place, like physically, your body's not going to want to really reproduce, because, like, we're humans, right? Yeah. Like, when we're in prime condition, that's when our body's like, hey, let's reproduce.
We can fix the problem. So
that's where those sex hormones come in.
Energy to fix the problem.
Exactly. And so, again, with the high volume of toxins, like, our poor livers are just really working overtime, because there's a lot of arguments out there with people who talk about detoxes and things like that. They're like, well, your liver's doing that. Like, you don't need to buy this. You know, your liver does it. It does, but let's help it along. So, like, you know, pharmaceuticals push pathways where herbs, like, foster them. They kind of just, like, nurturing. It's just like petting a little puppy. Like, here you go, buddy. Like, come on.
Come on, little liver.
I'm going to help you help yourself, you know? And so that's what I kind of like about the herbs is it's kind of a gentler approach. but they're not like safe. You can't just like assume every herb is safe. So because a lot of people, again, that's another argument that you run into. And some people like are very vehemently like against or, for. And so it's hard to sometimes talk about it in different places. But what I found is if you can get your liver in a good place, the rest kind of follows.
So the liver is a good starting point.
The liver is a great starting point for just about everything because it really does a lot. If you look up all the functions that the liver does, it's mind-blowing. It's super cool. And so if we support the liver and then nourish the hormones, that's kind of the foundation of these kits. And so for people who cycle and have more regular ones, it's a liver and endocrine strengthener formula that has really good stuff like dandelion root, burdock root, nettle leaf, astragalus root, blessed thistle, sarsaparilla root, and red clover. And so those work together to kind of help detox the liver, support it, strengthen it, help cleanse the blood, kind of just get you in a good place. And then for the other parts of the cycle, which kind of go on with the different phases, is you have different needs per phase. And so during your follicular and ovulation phases, you're really producing estrogen, you're feeling good.
Yourself.
Yeah, you got some good energy. So you need herbs that kind of foster that. Whereas your luteal menstrual phases, that's when your progesterone's up and you're feeling a little bit more reflective and feeling good. When your hormones are balanced, actually, like the luteal phase is my favorite part of it, which most people would be like, absolutely not, because I'm PMSing, PMDD, I just, not feeling great. And so for me, I love it now that my hormones are balanced.
Right, because you're not totally out of whack.
Exactly. But so those, like with you really want to support that progesterone production while helping get that excess estrogen out of there. And our bodies are smart. They're intuitive. Our bodies heal ourselves. Like we heal ourselves. And then I think of everything else as a tool. Like my provider, Western medicine provider is a tool. My holistic provider is a tool. My herbs are a tool. Like we have all these tools that we put in our little hormone balancing toolbox and we pull out as needed, right? Not one person is going to fix me. Not one person is going to heal me.
Yeah, you can't fix everything with a Phillips screwdriver.
Exactly. You need a whole little, toolbox. I heal myself. And that's another reason is I want to empower women to have the knowledge to heal themselves with the tools that are available. And you don't know what you don't know. And so once you know, it's pretty cool what you can do. And so my kits, you do the liver and endocrine strengthener every day throughout your whole cycle. And then if you're cycling, you have it split up with the two different formulas for those phases. But then I was on an IUD for years and years, and I liked it, but I will say that once I got a little bit more balanced, things were a little bit more lubricated down yonder, my IUD would shift a lot.
Oh.
And so it's like
and that gets dangerous.
It's like a little dagger, a ninja, in the side of the uterus, and then I'll be like, oh my God.
Still here. What's going on?
It would cripple me to the floor for, 5 minutes. I'll be like, oh my God. It literally felt like a ninja was in my uterus trying to kill me.
Literally. Literally, that's what they are.
I know. But, it worked for what I needed it for, but I was ready to adventure on. And so I had the non-cycling kit, which is what I gave you. And that just has I kind of cherry picked between those two and put in what I felt. Because that's the thing. You can do something 8,000 different ways, right? And so if you really this is what spoke to me. But while I did that, because I have a little bit of a pharmaceutical background, and I like to research, I got the Botanical Safety Handbook, which I show you it's like a 6-inch book that goes through every herb, known interactions, known studies, things like that. And I just dug.
I'm just picturing when there's a witch with a cauldron and a big book, that's the big book much. I'm picturing.
Or a nerd in a library. Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like. And my poor kids and husband, I'm taking over the kitchen because I have this huge book. I got 3 or 4 different books in front of me, and I'm cross-referencing, right? And so again, nothing's safe for everybody. You always gotta try and
everyone's different.
And talk to your doctor and see, plan ahead. But information is power. Mm-hmm. And so what I included on these little sheets is the different interaction classes. This one is safety class 2B, caution during pregnancy. And then Shisandra is interaction class C, which has known interactions with blood thinners. And
now this is the pharmaceutical background coming out.
And so I just wanted to have it readily available. And again, FDA disclaimer, I'm not curing anybody, I'm not whatever. But just here's the information that is readily found by anybody who wants to look, but I'm going to put it in a digestible format for people. And so knowledge is power, because I need to know what's in here, things like that. And so those are the formulas for, I did an emerging goddess and a goddess. So the emerging one has, it's a glycerin based, so it's not quite as potent. It's vegetable. It's actually very sweet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it's kind of nice because like my girls use that. It's just kind of like a sweet introduction to herbs, because some herbs can really taste like crap. Like,
yeah, I'm picturing the first time I did like CBD drops for my back pain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this tastes horrible.
Yes. But at the same time,
This is not tangerine flavored.
I used to be able to shoot like straight whiskey out of a shot glass. Like if I can do that, I can take some herbal. Like it's fine.
Thank you so much for checking out part 1 of this podcast. A reminder, part 2 will be out next week, so be sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss out on when that episode drops. Please rate and review this podcast. It really helps us out. And if you're looking for more content from The Small Town Tourist, you can find me at The Small Town Tourist on Instagram and on Facebook. And if you have something cool that you think I should check out, send me an email, Abby, ABBEY, at thesmalltowntourist.com. We'll catch you next week.